Welcome in, everybody, to the Flagship podcast recap of a 56-7 Texas victory over UTSA, in which Arch Manning comes in off the bench for an injured Quinn Ewers and accounts for five touchdowns, including a touchdown pass on his first play. And a 67-yard touchdown run, the longest touchdown run by a Texas quarterback since Vince Young, and the first quarterback to account for 5 touchdowns, for passing, 1 running, since Colt McCoy. So, Eric, and it's not like Quinn Ewers was chop suey when he started this game. He's opened 7 of 8 passing, including a 7-yard touchdown pass to Isaiah Bond. Throws a weird interception. He was kind of looking at his thumb after the pass to Isaiah Bond. You're thinking, maybe he's got a thumb injury. No. Then he completes his next 7 passes before he leaves the game with an abdominal strain. The two quarterbacks combined, in addition to proving, without a doubt, they have the best quarterback room in college football. The two quarterbacks combined for to complete 23 of 28 passes for 408 yards, 6 touchdowns, and an interception thrown by Quinn Ewers. Eric, this was, it's Texas doesn't need to tempt fate with injuries because Jaden Blue was not able to go with a sprained ankle. Jelani McDonald out with an ankle injury. Aaron Bryant, the defensive tackle, out with a knee injury, Eric. But Texas may have proved tonight they have the best roster in college football, especially with Georgia eking out a 13-12 win at Kentucky. Your thoughts?
Chip, in my mind, and listen, it's 1 win against UTSA. And I don't want to disrespect the Roadrunners, but we talked about it, during the week. This is not the same UTSA program that was contending for Conference USA titles, American Athletic Conference titles, and was Chip, one of the tops of the group of 5, right? A more than respectable team that's going to come in here. And what was it, 42-20? I'm spitballing here a couple years ago, right? It's not that type of
41-20.
41-20. It's not that type of team that's going to come in here and challenge. Jeff Traylor's open about that. Let's put all that out front. With that being said, this, in my opinion, Chip, if the Big 12 title game was Steve Sarkisian's shining moment, shining hour last year in terms of being able to really establish a Texas program being back, tonight was a testament to the overall foundation, the structure, the depth that he's built, in my mind. Again, I get it. It was against UTSA. If this happened against an SEC foe, even a Vanderbilt, although they didn't look great tonight, I believe they lost at Georgia State, but a Kentucky, maybe you can amplify it even more. But let's not downplay it, Chip. You lose not just any quarterback, a Heisman Trophy contending quarterback, someone who, as you said, it wasn't like Quinn Ewers was just plain average out there. Chip, what did he finish? 14 of 18? I don't have the numbers in front of me. 14 of 18 or 14 of 16?
14 of 16.
All right, 14 of 16, two touchdowns, right? I mean,
yeah.
We're talking about a quarterback who's playing well and looked to be well on his way to another 300-yard passing game, high 60s completion percentage, probably higher than that, multiple touchdowns, was well on his way to that type of performance when Arch Manning came in due to Quinn Ewers, as Steve Sarkisian revealed both in the postgame and the halftime interview, an abdominal strain. And we'll see. We'll obviously have more to know about that on Monday, but of course, keep it locked to Horns 24/7. Chip will be, doing what he does. He'll have the information. So, don't stray too far. But yeah, Chip, this, in my mind, was a testament to the roster that Steve Sarkisian has built, the quarterback room that Steve Sarkisian has built. And yes, Arch Manning's own talent, being able to land a 5-star quarterback. And we've talked about it. This is Chip, not just the third consecutive year that Quinn Ewers hasn't finished a full season, but it was reminded to me in the post game that Quinn Ewers didn't finish his junior year of high school due to injury as well. So unfortunately, Quinn does have a bit of an injury history, and this is one, it's a freak accident, right? A non-contact type of play. But yeah, just to your point, and we'll get into some of the things like, the defensive performance, the explosive plays that were created. But if we're just, high leveling it for me, Chip, this was a testament to the type of program, top to bottom, that Steve Sarkisian's built.
Well, you think about the fact that 10 different receivers caught passes. 2 receivers went over 100 yards. Isaiah Bond, 5 catches, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ryan Wingo, 3 catches, 127 yards, and a 75-yard touchdown. Silas Bolden caught 4 passes. Jonte Cook caught 3 passes, 2 of them for touchdowns. Matt Golden, who's, been on fire. He's kind of under the radar, but still 3 catches, 34 yards. DeAndre Moore finally gets into the painted area. He caught the touchdown pass, the 19-yard touchdown pass from Arch Manning on his first play in the game. Asked Arch Manning about that after the game, and he said, yeah, it was my third-ish read, and it was a dime and a touchdown. Quinn Ewers was still in the injury tent, Eric. The defense held UTSA to, a 3 and out, and then Arch Manning runs for a 67-yard touchdown on a zone read play. Very sneaky of Steve Sarkisian to do that because he doesn't like to run his quarterbacks. He said as much after the game. It's not like we're going to make a living on running the quarterback, but what a great call. And then Arch Manning showing the athleticism of his grandfather, Archie, not of his uncles, Peyton and Eli, jukes a couple of defenders and then outruns the UTSA defense, Eric. I know we got to get to the defense, but you wrote about these explosive plays. Are you kidding me? A 67-yard touchdown run from the big fella?
We don't know where that was on the miles per hour, Chip. I know you tried to sneak that question in there. I don't think it made it through. But to your point, Chip, what was really impressive is the offense just kept on rolling, kept on moving.
Oh, my God.
Steve Sarkisian outlined it in his post-game comments, talking about it was nice to finally get the explosive plays. He felt that the offense had been, his word, efficient, right? And was looking efficient earlier in the ball game, and it looked efficient over the past 2 weeks. But getting the explosive plays, Chip, and that's something in my mind, I think, this is just in my experience covering college football. I don't think you can live and die on one or the other. I'm a big believer that, you can't live and die on the explosive play because inevitably, Chip, at some point, you're going to have to be methodical. You're going to have to win in situational football. Look no further than last year's Red River Shootout. I promise I'll stop belaboring those 4 downs. Horns fans probably don't ever want to hear about them ever again. But guess what, right? Until they conquer that in a big-time environment, which Texas performed really well in the red zone against Michigan. But you got to beat OU, right? So it'll come up in conversation until you cross that one off. But to my point, Chip, I think you have to have a hybrid of both. And to Steve's point, yes, it's great to finally see those explosive plays finally kicking. And they didn't miss a beat with Arch Manning. You talk about him using his legs, talk about him hitting Ryan Wingo, creating those explosive plays. So that's, in my mind, a really optimistic sign. And again, we'll know more in the next 24 to 48 hours what Quinn Ewers' status is. But if Arch Manning has to start against UL Monroe or even against a Mississippi State, right? Of course, you get the bye week in between there, but if you have to start those games, it feels confident. You can feel confident, that the explosive play aspect will be there.
Yeah, I mean, Arch did in less than a half of play, really, because Trey Owens came in for him pretty early in the fourth quarter. Arch Manning, with the 4 touchdown passes, the touchdown run, accomplished in about a half what Quinn Ewers, are his career highs. 4 touchdown passes against OU in 2022, 4 touchdown passes against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 title game last year. So Arch Manning, again, UTSA is struggling. They've been outscored the last 2 weeks, 100 points to 17, but it's still the UTSA defense was the strong side of the football. That's the side with all the fifth-year seniors. And like you said, Eric, Arch Manning didn't miss a beat. He proved today that Texas has the best quarterback room in the country, and with all the plays that were made across the field, not just at receiver, but Jarek Gibson again is your leading rusher with Jaden Blue out again with the ankle injury, did not play. But on the defensive side of the ball, you had sacks and tackles for loss from young guys like Tyanthony Smith and Leonga Lafau. Colin Simmons continues to look like an absolute force. I asked him about to describe his ball get off, because his first step is lethal. It's going to be the reason he probably ends up leading Texas in sacks for the next 3 years. And he said, like none other. Love that confidence. Colin Simmons, come on down. Impressive. Anthony Hill everywhere. Again, double-digit tackles. This defense, they sent messages early and often, Eric. Jahdae Barron, forcing a fourth and one run into the arms of Michael Taff and David Benda. Quinn Ewers throws that interception. Jeff Traylor tries to turn it into something. Texas defense says no. 4th and 1, -2 yard loss. Jarek Gibson fumbled later in the game. The defense said, no, you're not getting anything off that either. Their only touchdown, UTSA's only touchdown, came on an explosive 53-yard touchdown run, in which Vernon Broughton may have gotten a little wide in upfield, and the touchdown run breaks, Eric. But I thought the defense was outstanding, and it looks like they're competing with each other, Eric. Not even as much competing with the opponent.
Chip, listen, we could probably do an entire podcast on this defensive performance, and it's something that I'd love to circle back with Steve Sarkisian. I'd love to circle back with PK, but hey, we had our one shot with him for the regular season. In terms of, you can say this across football. Usually, year one is kind of that adjustment period of a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, but in this case, defensive coordinator. You're feeling yourself out, right? You're trying to figure out what your role is. Year two, you feel a little more confident, but you're still kind of thinking and whatnot, Chip. And you've pointed to this game as a turning point many times. You talked about Jalen Ford, the Alabama game, cutting it loose, right? When it's not thinking as much. It's, all right, I've prepped. I see what I've prepped for. I'm just going to go. Year three, in year four, you would make the case the last, we're 3 games into the year, so 17 games of PK's defense. They've been one of the best in the nation. And obviously the pass defense was what it was last year, and we've talked about that. They've answered that question, right? At least in the first 3 games of this year. But the confidence, Chip, I spoke with Jahdae Barron post-game. He said they're playing fast, they're playing confident, and they're hustling. And I'd love to follow up and just ask him, how much easier is it to do those things with your comfort level in the defense? Steve Sarkisian talked about the effort, the hustle, playing fast. How much easier is it to do those things? Year 3, year 4 in the defense. That's one aspect. The second aspect, again, you touched on it. New guys, Colin Simmons. Yeah, first off, that kid, an amazing post game. Like the confidence is dripping off of him. You see someone who knows he has the physical tools. It's just a matter of using this time in college to round out his game to get where he wants to be, right? So we could talk about that. Tyanthony Smith, what did Benda call him? Hurricane, right? In the fall camp, you see him, that Hurricane, he shot the gap, saw what was coming at him, made that TFL. So the fact that you're getting, tackles for loss from multiple guys, I counted, just wrote this story also on the website, horns247.com, 11 different players who made either a partial tackle for loss or a tackle for loss. That's impressive, Chip.
Yeah, it really is. And Leonga Lafau continues to come on. He made big plays against Michigan. He made another big play in the second quarter of tonight's game. He saw the quarterback, saw a lane, shot right through, made the contact, and got the sack. He's one of three to get a sack. Colin Simmons got a sack. Lafau got a sack, and Colton Vasek got a sack. We haven't even mentioned Ethan Burke. In his 53. The big fella was lumbering. 30-yard pick six, Eric.
It felt like longer than that, right?
Felt like longer than that, but my gosh, that was kind of an athletic play by Ethan Burke. Picked off that pass and then, huffed and puffed 30 yards down the field for a pick six. What a statement for the defense to finish things on.
Yeah, Chip, no doubt about it. And also, I'll just kind of make it quick as get ready to wrap here. You talk about finishing things off. 2 weeks ago was Wardell Mack, right, with the pick to preserve the shutout. This week, it's Ethan Burke making a big-time play to get a defensive score. That's impressive to me as well, Chip, because Steve Sarkisian talked about wanting to play 60 minutes, right? Clearly.
60 minutes of hell.
60 minutes of hell. I think you saw it from this defense here tonight.
Yeah, 60 minutes of hell. Texas lost the turnover battle, but they were able to convert, obviously, the one turnover that UTSA had into a touchdown, Ethan Burke's pick six. And the two turnovers by Texas resulted in 0 points for the Roadrunners because the Texas defense was outstanding. Eric mentioned the red zone. Texas was 4 of 5 in the red zone, 4 touchdowns, and held UTSA to 2 of 17 on third down, which is just staggering. And even though Owen McCown, the quarterback at UTSA, was 21 of 29, that's a 72% completion rate. It was only for 132 yards, Eric. I mean, it was like, man, those are good. Oh, no, never mind. And they held UTSA to 3.3 yards per carry. So really impressive stuff tonight from the Longhorns. People are going to say, oh, Texas has a quarterback controversy. No, they have the best quarterback room in the country. And Longhorn Nation should just be thankful that they have both and cheer for Quinn Ewers to make a speedy recovery so that Texas has both of those quarterbacks at their disposal once again. But look, we'll be back to talk about it early in the week. But impressive showing tonight for the Texas Longhorns, despite some serious adversity with Quinn Ewers, who you could see put his jersey over his face when he went into the injury tent. He thought it was bad. And oblique injuries are very tricky. They can get resolved pretty quickly. They can linger. So it's too early to tell right now where Quinn Ewers is in the recovery process. But as Eric pointed out, they have ULM next week. They have Mississippi State on the 28th, and then they have an off week. And the way that Arch Manning was working it tonight, Arch Manning looks like he'd be ready to handle ULM and Mississippi State. But we'll get there. Eric, great stuff tonight. Everybody get over to horns247.com. Read all of the content. We've got all the info you need on Quinn and Arch and Eric, the defense, the explosive plays, because this is a fun team to watch. For Eric Henry, I am Chip Brown. Until next time, we'll see you over at horns247.com. Thanks for listening to this flagship podcast recap of Texas's 56-7 victory over UTSA. Stay safe and keep the faith.